pediatric AIDS. And a little while ago, Rachel Chappell asked for some pieces for the HIV/AIDS Real Stories Gallery. And so I gave her this one that is dedicated to all the angels working in pediatric AIDS, and Carol hasn't even read yet, Hunter's Point Cocktail. Past the regimens of fetal transmission rates, newborn antibody counts, toddler immunosuppression, lurk deeper regimens north of Candlestick Park. Stalinist stacking blocks, sans windows, breakfast crack, gentrified bullets in Bayview. I'll only be a minute. But of course many more, not intimidation or stepping over still life and cheap gin, but hugs for Lashana, unfolding into hours, a prayer as a hope for an antiretroviral appropriate for kindergarten, safe for the whole family. Not a job to kill hope, the birth of new hope. Maybe. But removing one triage leaves room for another. West Point Mob, Norteña, Big Block, or East Bay Exodus. Which variety of cocktail proves you have heart? Banishing triages and dirty martinis. Golden housing projects, light years from PEPFAR, where a Botswanan clinic in 2018 simply runs out of money. Triage is now. Bottoms up. Some of you may know Sister Barbara Huber, who was a fixture around town for quite a while. She's since been to El Paso and Cincinnati and all over, and came back for a visit in early August and invited me for a beer where we talked about nuns and transcendence and the problems of bringing the ascetic, uplifted ones back to planet Earth. This is called When Nuns Bring Beer. Sister Barbara poured 2 perfect head MGDs just as the sun's neutrino vomit hit the upper atmosphere. She wondered out loud about reeling in the contemplative sisters who dismissed the warmth of the bar room. What fishing lure can return them to the necessary breath? I reminded her that every stylite needed to eat and shit, even if it took a diocese force feeder ascending that column. The breath is here. The choice has been made. But then again, Catholics always prove better at works. A new crowbar might be required to pull a Calvinist ascetic from the bubblegum stuckness of prevenient grace. Not stuckness, Barbara smiled, stuck in againstness. We could feel the corona spillover while we watched the condensation rings warn us that the necessary breath is a closed circle. Accept the gift, accept the terror of each anonymous death without once averting your eyes. What if the astronomers were wrong, I thought as I got up to leave. Maybe that walk to the car, a search for auroral lights, would leave my bones pliant. She wondered if a squid was any easier to reel in, and reminded me of dozens of assassins, closer than the sun, that might lurk in those last 200 steps. And besides, she said, you must finish your beer. I'm going to end with a pair of related poems written about a year apart. The first one is a prose poem called Local Minima, and I wrote it about the connections between the Tibetan wheel of reincarnation and what is a settling temperature, a crystallization for creativity that a group of scientists have been calling simulated annealing. And I didn't realize at the time I wrote this a year ago that this fantastic neuroscientist, this woman in Vancouver, Leanne Gabora, has been doing some fascinating work with the beer can theory of creativity. And so after I read of her work, I was talking about it with a woman that I think is probably the finest living poet today in upstate New York, Carolyn Strigley Moore. And we talked about this back and forth, and this generated a second poem called Hive Crystals. First, the prose poem, Local Minima. My depth of gratitude for Clint Takeda's simple words was not evident until the evening we leaned against the Knight Rider pinball machine in the long demolished 15th Street Tavern. Our inclined angles almost in parallel, to the careening ball finding temporary traps in the pockmarks of David Hasselhoff's face. Isabel was chanting, whispering perhaps, and it suddenly occurred to me that Bardo Pond looked just like the oscillating trap that those testing mixed signal integrated circuits call stuck at fault. The Bardo Pond felt just like the point at which the energy daemon in a game of simulated annealing becomes stuck at local minima. The energy daemon felt just like the last pinball in the round. Experts in genetic algorithms tell us that the energy required to overcome a local minimum is at least twice that to begin the process of annealing. From the point of view of the pinball, the valley walls are sheer and high, and the pond is cozy, maybe a bit warm for the mountains. There's beer and brats for the beachfront property. Only that ominous little I-70 sign warning truckers they have not reached bottom yet reminds the pinball that it is far from its poky little home, where its mother is no doubt greatly displeased. How does the pinball reach the flippers? In the wheel, the minimum quantum of energy is one lifetime. In pinball, the minimum quantum of energy is tilt. Twice the energy at go would suggest cheating at some point. Western Missouri in 1842, Serb Highlanders in 1942. Maybe the jerky pattern of those whispers is the sound of a record skipping. Call upon the gods of choice, but escaping the local minimum and leaving the canyon is a matter of chance. And the next annealing might not be the karmic destination you were hoping for. Maybe it's best to sit by the pond in the bright sunshine and wait for the next streetcar to play coup. Hive crystals. This is like a year later the answer to that. Time it was, the ones with guns blotted my tears with tales of swarm intelligence, hive minds. Time it was when emergent intelligence was the monster in my closet. But if the living cell is a parasitic accident, then the mitochondria as drone assassins turn each instance of accidental grace into the crystallized snowflake, the singularity of honey gone solid. Emergent intelligence annealed is Jack Frost's friend. Each human hunch absent the need to know, a frosted window. One might stumble in an Ice Nine world where every revelation begins with oops, with honey bear bottles in the solid entanglements begging for a shot in the microwave, understanding introduced with a dose of bisphenol A. Emergent intelligence smelted at a place where the crystallization moment is lost in a Poisson pattern. Worker bees' crystals embedded in dance, soldier ant's burden is and was weightless, and the synaptic reenactment enters the swarm.